Hi cozy friends, and welcome back to Morgan Unraveled. My name is Morgan, and on this channel I like to unravel my anxious mind one stitch at a time. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, grab a project and a cup of something cozy. Let's unravel together. It has been so long since I recorded that intro that I decided to mix it up a little bit, or at least that's what I said yesterday when I was recording this for the first podcast in 3 months. I tried to upgrade my audio with a new mic and it ended up not recording any audio at all, so this is take 2. Let me know what you think of the new intro, the one stitch at a time. I've had that in my bio for a long time and it felt like I don't talk about reading that much on here, so I wanted my intro to be a little more knitting focused, and I think it fits really well. I'm definitely hoping to try to use the mic again in the next podcast, but I just didn't have the heart for anything to go wrong since I'm already having to refilm. So I'm using the microphone on my camera just like I used to on this video, but hopefully the quality levels up for you guys in the next one. So the last knitting podcast on my channel was back in February. It's May now, and life has just been one thing after another between us traveling and moving and sickness and mental health crisis, which I've talked about most of those things on my channel and why I haven't been doing the podcast. I've wanted to get back to it for so long, and here we are. I'm so excited. Even though life has been busy, that doesn't mean I haven't been knitting. I have been knitting up a storm. I have quite a few finished objects today. We're going to talk about all the finished garments first, and then we'll talk about a couple of complete accessories that I've knit on in the past few months, and I also have some whip updates to share with you. Some of these projects are things you've seen before as whips, but one of them you've seen absolutely nothing about, and it flew off the needles in 10 days. So I've got a lot to share, and I'm so excited to dive in. The first finished object I am wearing right now, and you may have seen the caramel sweater vlog. That was the last video up on my channel, and I talked all about this knit as well as the process I shared along the way. And this is the caramel sweater by petiteknit, knit in Knit Picks Gloss DK in the color Harvest, and I am obsessed with this sweater and this yarn. It is a 70% merino, 30% silk blend, and it is so luxurious, and it's really my color. I think it makes me shine in the best way. I called it my Velma sweater a little bit while I was knitting on it because I felt like I was going to look like Velma with the glasses and the little orange turtleneck. So as far as construction, it is a 2x2 turtleneck raglan sweater with these long cuff details. Speaking of the cuffs, there is some extreme pilling already on this yarn. I have worn it a lot this autumn. I finished knitting it shortly before fall here in Australia, so I've been getting a ton of wear out of it, and I do want to depill it, so it's not a big deal, but I wanted to mention it in case you're considering knitting with this yarn and that scares you off a little bit and you don't have a depiller. But I think it just shows that there's a lot of love for this sweater, and I definitely will maintain it over the years. It's a very nice, drapey, breathable, but cozy yarn. So I'm really obsessed with this yarn, and I definitely will knit with it again, not only because I have some leftovers. I bought 12 balls of this and only used 9.5. They're 50-gram balls. So I can definitely make something like a beanie or something small with the scraps of this yarn, and I would love to get more of it in another color because it's just so nice on the skin. It's very soft and luxurious. This was my New Year's cast on, and I finished it at the start of March, so it was on the needles for 2 months. I knit the size large on 4mm needles, and the recommended positive ease is 4 to 6 inches, which I do think I achieved. I'm really happy with the fit and drape of this garment. I think it gives it almost a feeling of being a blouse, even though it is a sweater, and that is exactly what I was going for with this knit. Compared to some of other petiteknit's sweaters, this one has considerably less positive ease recommended, and obviously you could do that with some of her other sweaters, but I'm really happy with this pattern. I will say the cast on was tricky. This was my first time doing an Italian tubular cast on, and obviously I was doing it for 2x2 ribs, so I had to turn it in from 1x1 rib to 2x2, and that was so fiddly. I had to do it like 4 times, and I thought this was going to be a quick, easy cast on for a stockinette project on the side. So I was definitely biting off more than I was intending to chew. I did shorten my turtleneck by 1 inch because I just didn't want it being too high. I have, I think, a normal size neck. I just don't like things up by my jaw. So I shortened it by 1 inch, and I'm really happy with that choice. And then after that, there is short row shaping to raise the shoulders, raise the back, I mean, and that really helps the fit of this raglan yoke as well. And then it's just the raglan increases, which I think are a very beautiful detail as well, and joining the body in the round. I did not modify anything besides taking off 1 inch of the turtleneck. I knit everything to the lengths recommended in pattern, and I'm so happy with it. I absolutely love these long cuffs, and there is double knitting before the Italian bind off, which I think is a really nice detail. At first it cinched in a bit around my wrist, but with wear it has actually made it look quite neat and the perfect finishings. That is one of my favorite things about petiteknit's patterns, is that there's so much attention to detail in the finishings, and that really helps to elevate a very simple project like a stockinette raglan. Binding off in the 2x2 was also a trick, but I think what I essentially did was just turning it into 1x1 before doing the bind off, and you can't tell, it looks very neat. Besides this end, it looks very neat. My goal with this sweater was to get to wear it in autumn and be around all the fall leaves and take beautiful photos, and I actually was able to do that. So I'm really happy with adding this staple piece to my wardrobe. I feel like it's really me, it's really my style, and it complements things that I'm already wearing all the time. So that was one of my main goals with my Make 9 this year, was to add more staples to my wardrobe. This was the first thing off my Make 9, so I was really happy to be making progress with that. On to the next finished object. I finished my husband's Lakes pullover by Ozetta. Let me get a hanger. I knit this in Bendigo Woolen Mills 10-ply luxury wool in the color navy blue. I was able to score this at a discounted rate in their back room, which was really nice. And this was the exact color my husband was going for a Lakes pullover. And I am obviously just following the normal version. She doesn't have a man's version, but the only modifications I really had to make it for a man was add a considerable amount of length. I followed the instructions for the size medium because my husband wanted quite a close fit. I think that's only 2 inches more than his natural chest circumference, so not much ease there, and that is what he was going for. So I followed just about everything to pattern, knitting on 4.5mm needles. I did have to size down a needle from recommended because I was struggling with row gauge, which doesn't usually matter that much, but it helped me meet gauge. And the reason it mattered is because of the lengths you're knitting the saddle shoulders to and all of that. And so once I sized down to 4.5, I was meeting row and stitch gauge, so that worked out better for me. I did end up knitting the body 4 inches longer than recommended for the size medium. I don't remember if it was the same for all sizes, but 4 inches longer than that, so that it would be long enough for his body before beginning the hem. And he's really happy with the length. As I did with his mill cardigan, I followed the measurements from one of his favorite sweaters to figure out what lengths he likes things, and that works really well for me. I honestly think that is the best way to self-draft your measurements. If you like to modify your sleeve lengths, or if you have a shorter torso, whatever it may be, I would take measurements from something that fits you really well, and then you can figure out from there how long you should be knitting your sleeves, if your sleeves usually end up longer or shorter than you would like. However, he did ask me to make these a little shorter, so I ended up just following exactly to pattern, and I probably could have knit it just another ½ inch or so for him because it falls right at his wrist line, and so as he wears it, it kind of comes up. So I may end up adding some length onto these sleeves because I would much prefer a finished object he's going to reach for time and time again than a project that ends up sitting in the closet because it doesn't make him feel good about wearing. This is a 100% wool yarn, but after the block, it really drapes nicely and is a lot softer than it was when I was working with it. And with a saddle shoulder construction, there's usually so many ends to weave in, but I really only had ends all around here. And I ended up just spit splicing, because it's 100% wool, all the joins throughout the rest of the body. You knit the saddle shoulders and those end up having like 4 ends on each side. And then when you pick up stitches on the edge of the back shoulder and then cast on new stitches and pick up the other, you break the yarn and then you slip and start doing German short rows back and forth. And then you knit down to here, break the yarn, pick up on the front, knit, I think break the yarn again, knit, and then you join with the knit cast on stitches, work down, and then you're working in the round. I don't know if that made any sense, but there's just a lot of stop and go with the saddle shoulder construction, but it was so engaging and fun. And I love the little details for the shaping. I loved it so much I ended up adding my own little modification to add shaping around the neckline, if you can see that. I just would knit 4 stitches and then do the increase instead of doing the increase after 1 stitch. I did do 3 rows of double knitting halfway through knitting the collar to create a really neat tidy fold, and I love that. I think I learned it from the Sonia sweater by petiteknit. I haven't knit it yet, but I have read through the pattern and I really like that detail in the neckline, so I really do that on almost all of my double folded collars. I cast this on when we got back from our Bendigo Woolen Mills road trip on February 25th, and my goal when I cast it on was kind of loosely to try to knit it by my husband's birthday exactly a month later, and I was nearly there. I was literally binding off the body a few days before his birthday, but I just knew I wasn't going to crank out the sleeves that fast, so I ended up casting him on a beanie, and then I didn't come back to this for a few weeks, so it ended up being on the needles till April 25th, so exactly 2 months. And it seems like that tends to be my pace with my knits because I like to have so many things on the go at one time. I tend to finish things at about 2 months from my cast on date, and that is including me putting it down to work on other things. I got 5 balls of this yarn for 70 Australian dollars, but I was overestimating because I didn't realize he was going to want such a tight fitting sweater. I only ended up using 3.5 balls, so I definitely could have only bought 4, but I will use the rest of that yarn for something. The total for the wool was 49 Australian dollars, and if you add the cost of the pattern, which was 11 Australian dollars, the all-in total would have been 60 Australian dollars or about 38 US dollars, which I think is a really good deal. Again, I always say that, but I think that's a good price for a wool item that's going to stand the test of time in your wardrobe and is tailored to your body and to your style preferences, especially because I have plenty left over if I need to add length to the sleeve for him. And it just makes me so proud that I am able to knit things for my family, things that they will love and get a lot of wear out of. And it's so cool that this is knit in Australian wool, and I got to knit it here in Australia, and we will have this item for the rest of our lives. Well, that wasn't the only item from the Lakes collection that I ended up knitting in the past few months. I knit the Lakes cardigan by Ozetta as well. This is the newest addition to the Lakes collection by Ozetta. It is the Lakes cardigan. It is a V-neck saddle shoulder construction, and it is just perfection. I knit this in literally like 10.5 or 11 days. I had been really wanting to knit the perfect everyday cardigan for my wardrobe. So much so, in fact, I had cast on the Eva cardigan, but I was just not really sure about how I felt about it. And when this cardigan came out, I knew it was time. On my Make 9, I had planned to unravel my moss cardigan, or that's what I called it. It was the Lazy Cat cardigan by Kutova Kika. That was one of the first things I knit in my knitting journey, and I just really wasn't happy with the fabric and the fit of it. So my goal this year was to turn that yarn into something more wearable for me. Australian birds. The yarn I had used for that cardigan was Lion Brand Woolies recycled in the color olive, but I held it double for a really thick brioche cardigan. And my goal at the time and with this one was to knit the perfect everyday cardigan, and I just didn't get it right that time. So I unraveled that yarn, which was really difficult because it was held double, so I was having to wind like twice at two balls at the same time. But it was worth it because I created this. So this is that same Lion Brand Woolies yarn, but it is held with Drops Kid Silk Mohair in the color dark green. And I absolutely love this color, and the texture is so much nicer held with this mohair because it is an acrylic wool blend. So it wasn't the most comfortable on the skin in my opinion, but the mohair makes it so soft and really nice to wear. So I'm really happy that I decided to take the time to give that yarn new life and make something I would get a lot of wear out of. I cast this on May 2nd and finished it on May 12th, I believe. And I got to wear this to the Canberra Wool Expo this past weekend, which was really awesome, especially because I felt like I was wearing a secret. I hadn't shown you guys on Instagram or anything. This was really just a little self-care project for me. I mean, I did vlog the process, so I can't wait to share that with you guys because it's the first vlog fully in our new house, and it's also the first time I've filmed a project vlog kind of in like what felt like one sitting, because I usually take a few months to knit projects, so it's like capturing a lot over a long span of time. But this one was just 10 days of me hunkering down and obsessively knitting on a project. I love the construction of this cardigan. It was really fun to knit. I knit the size 4 or medium for this one for a finished bust circumference of 116 centimeters or 26¼ inches, which is about 16 centimeters of positive ease for me. There was a ton of ends to weave in on this one because there was no spit splicing happening. It was a lot of unraveled bits of yarn, little balls, like 50-gram balls or so. So it had a lot of breaks in the process of unraveling. So there was a lot of points where I was bringing in a new ball even in a place where I didn't have to break the yarn, but every moment of it was worth it. And I have woven in my ends, which I'm proud of. I actually haven't given this one a full block, only a steam block, so I expect that it might grow even a little bit more with a full block, but I wanted to get to wear it this past weekend, and hopefully we can talk about the things I acquisitioned at the Canberra Wool Expo here shortly, if my son naps long enough. Yes, as I said, this is a saddle shoulder construction with a V-neck. I love the buttons I chose. It was quite a debacle. It always is for me. I always struggle to pick my buttons, and I really love the fit of it. I do think I could have knit it just a slight bit longer, but I think it's the perfect length when I'm wearing my high-waisted jeans, which is pretty much the only thing I wear out of the house. This is the perfect everyday cardigan for throwing on when you're going out of the house, and that's what I've been needing in my wardrobe. And this matches almost everything I wear on a day-to-day basis, so it really is the item I've been looking for in my closet every time I'm getting dressed to leave. And I'm so happy that I was able to finish it in time to wear this fall and hopefully into winter, but it'll get a little too cold for this. I am so happy to have given this yarn new life and turn it into something that is actually wearable. I highly recommend this pattern, and I can fully see myself knitting it again because it's quick, it's fun, it's concise. Ozetta writes her patterns beautifully. There's never any confusion. Her pattern will say, knit this many rows. It should be this length and have this many stitches on the needles at this point. And that's really helpful, especially when you're knitting a new construction and you're not quite sure if you're doing things correctly. She leaves no room for error, and it's really easy to follow. That is part of the reason that this was so quick and easy to knit, because there was never any like decisions I had to make. I just followed the pattern and it's perfect. I do think I knit the sleeves like an inch longer than recommended because I do like a longer sleeve and I didn't want to run into the same issue as on my husband's pullover. So yeah, I think I knit the sleeve just a tad bit longer and I'm happy with that. It was really interesting to work on this and see how quickly I can knit something when I hone in and focus on only one project, because like I've said before, I do tend to be a chaotic knitter, knitting on a few things at once at any given time because I like to have some mindless projects and some more mindful projects, something that keeps me engaged but something that keeps me able to knit while watching a show and not really paying attention. And all my projects offer a different value, but I really enjoyed just focusing on one project, and there was never a point where I was like pushing myself or forcing myself to knit this quickly. I really was just knitting at a normal pace, maybe slightly hyperfixated. Like I was leaving some chores piling up because I just wanted to work on this and nothing else. But it was really cool to see that, you know, with sweaters like this, I knit on it and was almost done in like 3 weeks, but then I lost my focus and it ended up taking 2 months. So it's really cool to see that if I don't let something lose my attention, how quickly it can happen. I don't think I'm going to do that with every project going forward. I'm never going to be a monogamous knitter, but it's really empowering to see how quickly something can happen if I focus on it. But again, this is a worsted weight yarn held with a mohair on 5.5mm needles. So that's not to say that I can knit any and every project in 10 days if given the opportunity. This knit was worked on a lot out by the lake because we live near a lake now. We, as I said, just moved into a new place and there's a beautiful playground on the water, and I was able to take my son to play and ride his bike while I knit on this. So it feels like there's already so many special memories, not only stitched into this, but also getting to wear it and make memories of going to the Canberra Wool Expo. And I actually got to meet the same viewer from last time when I was at the Aussie Yarn Show, which is really special, getting to meet the same person twice. Hey Vicky, if you're watching. And know that this is going to get the most wear of anything I've made, even though it's such a simple project. This construction detail really elevates it and makes it feel like a special piece, even though it's just a stockinette cardigan at the end of the day. The last finished garment I have to share is my son's Narnia jumper. I modified this pattern to fit a junior size. It is the Narnia jumper by Saskie & Co., formerly known as the petiteknit, and it is a beautiful colorwork yoke sweater with a bear motif, and I actually modified this bit right above the bear to look a little bit more like a sword. As an ode to King Arthur, because my son's name is Arthur. And the bears are also an ode to him, not only because I loved Narnia as a kid growing up, but because Arthur means bear in Welsh. So this feels like such a special knit, and this was actually my very first finished colorwork garment. If you've followed me, you know I did knit the yoke of the loom pullover, but I ended up frogging it. I don't feel like I had done a bad job. I just didn't think it was my style or like the colors I had chosen in the contrast I had chosen. But this is my redemption arc because not only did I do a great job and I feel like the tension is really good, but also I modified it to fit him from an adult size. So I knit it in a DK weight instead of an Aran as the pattern recommends. I knit it in Bendigo Woolen Mills 8-ply or DK weight yarn in Magnolia and Caramel. I was definitely knitting off gauge, but because of that, I was able to follow the smallest size 1, without any further modifications other than the row I decided to add by just design choice in the yoke. And the only other modifications I made was the lengths to the body and sleeve. I knit it on a 4mm needle, which is not the size recommended. I definitely sized down my needle. And I believe my gauge for this was either 20 or 21 stitches and 28 rows. I think for the body length, I knit 7 inches before doing the ribbing instead of whatever it recommends in the pattern for an adult size. In order to decide what length to knit them to, I took a sweater that he already loves and wears that fits him, and I followed those measurements, which again, as I recommended with my husband's pullover, is really just the perfect way to make sure that a gift knit or even a knit for yourself is going to fit in a way that you prefer. Bendigo Woolen Mills yarn come in 200-gram balls, so I bought 2 balls of the main color and 1 ball of the contrast color. However, I only used 60 grams of the contrast color and I only used 220 grams of the main color. So I have a lot of yarn left over from this project that I will probably use to make the Narnia hat. Which is really cute. I think it would be so cute for him to be able to wear the sweater and hat together. And we all know I already have a tendency of knitting beanies a little too small, which we will get to again in this video. So that will probably work in my favor with knitting Arthur a little matching beanie. I did slightly modify the underarm cast on and only cast on 12 stitches to make the chest circumference 30 inches, which fits the size he currently wears right now. He's only 3, but he does wear like size 5 or 6 clothes most of the time because he's a big boy. I did spend 40 Australian dollars on the wool for this, but obviously I didn't use it all. So that's definitely not the finished cost for this project. It would definitely be less, but I think this is a priceless knit. I am so proud of this. It's honestly one of the most beautiful things, if not the most beautiful thing I have knit to date. He is so happy with it and so proud of it. He tells everyone at the park that his mama made it, which is really funny. And he actually got to sit on my lap while I was working on the stockinette body and hold the needles and kind of learn to knit. I would wrap the yarn for him, but he was holding the needles and find how to put the needle into the stitch. It was really special to not only get to share this part of the craft with him of the making process, but get to kind of teach him how to knit for the first time on his own jumper. There's just so much special about this, and this is a pride and joy. I will probably put this in a shadow box when he can no longer wear it, and or let his future siblings wear it too. It's just such a family memento and probably will become an heirloom someday. I am very proud of this, and I hope to knit some colorwork sweaters for myself as well. This taught me so much and is just an amazing accomplishment in my knitting journey. I think being able to knit not only a colorwork sweater and actually finish it, but also modifying it to a different size than is designed for feels like such a level up in my knitting, and I'm very proud of myself. Next, I have 2 complete accessories to share with you, and they are actually both the same. So nice, I knit it twice. I knit the Olay beanie by Susunne Müller. I knit this in Barocco Vintage DK in the color navy blue on 3mm needles for my husband. And if you've been around this channel, you'll know that I am on a lifelong quest to make my husband a beanie that he will prefer over this store-bought ratty old beanie he wears every day. It's like his comfort beanie, and I want so badly to knit something that brings him as much comfort as that beanie. But the quest continues, because as much as he likes this one and he does wear it and it does somewhat fit, I knit the size 3 instead of the size 4, and so it just is a little tight on his head. He says it does make him feel like it's squeezing his head just a little bit. So the quest will continue, the saga will go on. I will be knitting him another beanie, probably not a ribbed one next time, but this is a brioche knit, which took some time and love, so I am a little disappointed. But like I said, he does wear it, I can wear it, Arthur can wear it. Because it's ribbed, so it can stretch. And yeah, it was a bit tedious because it's brioche and you're doing every row twice basically, but it was so fun and also like really cool to see work up. So the construction of this is that you knit the hem of it kind of reverse brioche, and then you switch and start knitting it in regular brioche, and it creates a line, a natural fold line. I knit the cuff 3.5 inches, and then for the body I did 5 3/4 of an inch before beginning the decreases, and I did do the decreases at a slightly faster rate to create a less pointy crown. As I said, I do wish I had knit the size 4 for him, and I could always do it again. For some reason, this only used 88 grams and it was supposed to use about 100. So I do think I potentially was knitting too tightly. And I also say that because I knit the same hat for myself in my Bendigo Woolen Mills alpaca 8-ply from their back room. I bought this yarn to knit the Sophie shawl, which we will be talking about soon, in my whips, but I wanted to squeeze a hat out of that yarn quantity as well, and I'm so glad I did. It's so cute and squishy on me. And I knit the size 3 for this one too, and it is a perfect fit. I'm really happy with this hat. It is so autumn, it is so me, and it is very soft and squish. It's just so squish. They were both very fun to knit. I knit my husband's in about a week, and for some reason his felt a little more tedious, even though I obviously didn't think it was too tedious to cast on another. And mine worked up faster. I knit mine in like 2 days. Because I was just more excited about it, I think. It's always more exciting to knit for yourself, I think. And I think the decreases on my hat are better. I definitely did a better job because I kind of fudged his and I did it correctly on mine. Had I known I would have so much left over of his sweater, I probably would have knit him a beanie with that one, and I still may because we're still on that quest to knit the perfect beanie for him. The cost for this yarn was $16. This used 100 grams, which was exactly half of one ball. So the total cost for this hat is $8 Australian dollars, which is like $5 US. Like, that is a steal, a bargain. I'm so happy with it, and soon I'm going to have a matching set because I'm knitting the shawl, and that will be the next project we talk about. Great segue. Let's talk about whips. The first whip we're going to talk about is my Sophie shawl. I am nearly halfway. I am following the largest size on 4.5 millimeter needles. I don't know if that's what the pattern recommends. And I am going to be using the technique she recommends in the pattern to weigh your yarn and then knit until you are 2 grams less than the halfway of how much yarn you have, and then start doing the decreases. So I definitely have a little bit more to go before that point. But here is how the shawl is working up, and I'm just so excited to very soon have a matching winter set. I feel like that is such a hallmark of being a knitter, having your own matching winter set that you handmade. So I am really happy to be actually doing that. I feel like I skipped all of the accessory knitting and just dove headfirst into garment making because that's what I wanted to do. I'm not a huge accessory knitter, but I'm definitely finding some joy in it because you need to at least have a like staple set of like knit beanie and scarf, I feel like, and I would love to make some mittens as well. But this is obviously just a garter stitch shawl. You've seen everyone and their mother knit a Sophie shawl, so there's not much to say about it. It's just a basic knit. It's back and forth. I have a stitch marker on the right side to mark the last increase. I know how many garter stitch bumps need to be in between the increases, so when I reach that point I just slip my stitch marker up to the new increase and keep on knitting. So that adds just enough engagement, but it's nothing but knit, 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 which is really fun. So this has been a great mindless project to take with me when I'm headed to the park or whatever, so that I can knit but still be present and paying attention to things like when we're watching our shows. We have just finished our rewatch of Dexter, so I am highly emotional. It is my comfort show, and those last couple seasons are so hard to watch. The last work in progress I have to update you on is my Dagmar zipper sweater by petiteknit. I am knitting this in Knit Picks Simply Wool in the color Winnie. My yarn ball winder has definitely been messing up, so don't laugh at how silly my ball looks. However, I'm so excited about this project. I'm hosting the Dagmar Knit Along with Knitting with Ev, and she has just finished hers and will probably be sharing it on her podcast very soon, so I will have her linked down in the description so you can check it out. But her and I have both been sharing our journey of knitting the Dagmar, and the KAL is for any version of the Dagmar. If you're knitting a Dagmar, share it with us on hashtag Dagmar KAL so we can see how it's working up for you. But I have nearly completed the body. I am working the hem now, and let me tell you, as fun as this project is, I have had so much decision fatigue with this project, and it's mainly because the lengths you're going to knit things to have to end at either a full cable diamond repeat or a half cable diamond repeat. And so it's really hard to decide, like, should I stop here or should I finish this diamond, or should I knit another half diamond? And that made me just keep putting this project down and not make decisions. I have completed an entire sleeve, and I ended up, because I didn't like the lengths it was knitting to, not finishing a full half or full diamond or half diamond. I kind of did like a quarter, which is similar to what the shoulder pickup looks like anyways. So I probably could have done the same on the body. However, it was like the perfect length. Once you add the amount of hem there's going to be, it was the perfect length once I finished this diamond. So even though I wanted to complete the body on a half diamond, I ended up just completing it on this full diamond. And I think it'll look really nice. I feel like only us knitters nitpick these details, but we get to because we're making our own item. And let's talk about modifications. I am knitting this on a 4.5mm needle instead of the recommended 5mm because I'm knitting this with a worsted weight, not an Aran, and I did not want to hold it with a mohair, so I needed to meet gauge, and I didn't want my fabric to be too dense anyways, and I'm really happy with how it looks. I also added seed stitch inside of the diamonds instead of purl. And over here, this side panel is supposed to be seed stitch, and I did it in moss. And I'm really happy with those modifications. I really love the look of this and the way it's coming together. And then as far as this collar, like what is this situation going on here? You pick up all the neckline stitches, and then you rib, and then you fold it over, and then you make double knit all the way up through this section and around, and it's going to encase the zipper. I haven't done the double knitting yet, but that is on my to-do list after the hem and the second sleeve. This is going to be my first time putting a zipper on a hand knit, so please give me all your tips for that, or if you have any tutorial recommendations, please send them my way. I'm going to need it. I did end up knitting the sleeve a little longer than she suggested, which is crazy because Ev was actually knitting hers shorter, so I'm pretty surprised I had to make it longer. But I think I'm gonna like the length better. I do love my sleeves to like come up onto my knuckle. I love that, it's so cozy. And I really think this is going to be the perfect cozy winter knit. And I've got like 10 days till winter here, so I need to get knitting. I am an inch and a half, I think, into the hem, so by the time I see you next, this is going to be a finished object. And I just absolutely love this wool. It has a really nice texture. It has some of that natural oil to it because it is a 100% eco wool, so it's like untreated, undyed wool. And it adds such nice definition to these honeycomb cables. It's just delicious. I love this drop shoulder, and I know it bothers some people that the join doesn't match up. I tried a little bit to fix that. Ev did a great job at making them line up. I did not, but I wasn't trying to modify too much, and I didn't want that to stress me out, so I just knit it to a pattern. This pattern has been really fun, especially sharing the process with Ev and the KAL. However, it has started to feel a bit like a slog for some reason, and I guess it's just because we've been knitting it for so long, and I've had to make like what feels like a lot of decisions about lengths and such, which is a little tricky when you're dealing with cable repeats. So I am quite ready to just whip this out and get it done and get it on my body. I'm also like dreading the zipper part a little bit, but you guys know I love to learn new things. So I really think it's one of those things of once you learn it, you won't be afraid anymore. Just like with my steeking, once I steeked a cardigan, I'm not afraid anymore. However, I did not steek this one. I'm really proud. I did all those purl rows, but again, it was on 5.5mm needles, so that was only like 25 purl rows or something. But this is going to be such a nice finished object very soon, and I am so excited about it. Now we can do some yarn acquisitions, which I don't usually do on my podcast, but I did just go to the Canberra Wool Expo this past weekend, and usually I just kind of do one like yarn haul video every quarter. And kind of put all the things I've been acquiring recently into that. But let's just chat about what I got at the Wool Expo. So I absolutely love black wattle. The black wattle alpaca farm is based in New South Wales, but it's just outside of the ACT, which is the Australian Capital Territory. And they have a few very nice collections, but this one is from their Sweet Pea collection. It is 60% superwash merino, 20% alpaca, 20% silk. It is hand-dyed fingering weight yarn, and it is so soft and luxurious. I got the color tawny brown, and this is going to become the Rococo top by Sari Nordland, which is all the mermaid aesthetic vibes I absolutely love. And obviously we're going into winter here, so I won't be working on this immediately, but this is going on the queue. And on my Make 9, I had a very open-ended, more spring/summer knits because I wear the heck out of my spring knits. I only have a couple and I need more. So I've been making more and more plans around my spring and summer knitting, and this one is one I'm really excited about because it's going to be quite luxurious. Most of my spring knits have been cotton so far, so this is going to be a really fun mix-up, and I'm really excited about it. And I also grabbed a couple sock yarns as well as I left it downstairs, but I grabbed Summer Lee's Sock Project knitting book. I will put in some clips of it. I really want to knit a lot of these socks, but especially some of the cable ones. The Harriet socks, and I think it's the Seafarer socks, are so beautiful. I can see myself knitting many of them. I also have a lot of Summer Lee's digital patterns, so it was about time that I grabbed her actual knitting book. And I think that where I have the 52 weeks of socks for a lot of sock knitting inspiration, most of those are quite intricate, and I don't feel ready or like devoting time to intricate socks. I really want some just staple, simple, cozy socks for wearing around the house or sometimes in my boots. And I felt like this book would be perfect for knitting more basic socks. The sock yarns I picked up from some local Australian hand dyers is this. This one is from Swish Yarns, and it has some beautiful variegation. This is a 100% merino wool, so I will have to hold it with some reinforcement thread, at least on the heel and maybe the toes, but I absolutely love this colorway and can't wait to make a pair of socks out of it. And I also got this one from Spun Out Fibers, and I absolutely love the color variation in this one as well. This one honestly looks a little thicker than a sock weight, and it is a superwash merino. I'm thinking this one might actually be sport, but I will have to use my little measuring tool to see if it's more sock weight or not. And I definitely plan to turn this into some socks. It is so beautiful, and I really think this will make some good boot socks as long as I hold it with some reinforcement thread yet again. There was a lot of sock yarns there that had nylon in it. I just wasn't reaching for them, so here we are. But I took some business cards from so many beautiful hand dyers here in Australia, and I just love getting to support local while I am living here. and I hope to do so even more in the time that we have here. So this is my little yarn haul, and I think that is everything I have to share. Obviously, I finished so much in the last few months, and I'm so excited to finally get to share all of this with you guys, what I've been knitting and what I'm going to be making. Before we go, I want to chat about my upload schedule on here just a little bit. I know I mentioned in my moving vlog that I'm really redefining in this season of life what consistency looks like for me on here, because as much as I would love to share all the knitting things on here, I am a mom and I do have a lot to balance in life, and when I was trying to upload on here every week, I feel like I was repeating myself a lot, and I also was not showing up in my life the way I would like to. So I'm trying to figure out what consistency can look like for me, and ideally I think that would be about one podcast a month with project vlogs sprinkled in between when I can. However, I do have family coming in all the month of June and July, which I'm so excited for, and I really want to just soak that up because I don't get to see my family. We are living in Australia, thousands of miles from our families, so any moment we have with them we are going to cherish. So for that reason, you may not see much from me during the next couple months, but I do have a couple project vlogs for both of the lakes knits I have that I can't wait to edit and put up. So hopefully I can disperse those over the next couple months and film a podcast somewhere in that time. If not, the next podcast would be in August. So I just want to let you know what to expect from me. I would love to share more frequently, but it's really nice when I have a big update like this to show you all these finished items. So hopefully the next one will be just as exciting. And I really appreciate all of your sweet comments when you guys remind me that there is so much more to life and that you're here when I can show up. And I really appreciate that. And support means the world to me, not only of my channel, but of my mental health. Like, there have been so many kind comments reminding me to prioritize me and my family and share my knitting when I get to it. And I absolutely, like, that means everything to me. So I hope to get back to a place where you know when to expect a video from me, but that's what things are going to look like for now, and I really appreciate you being here either way. I want to thank you so very much for watching and being here whenever you do see a video from me. If you haven't already, make sure you tap the subscribe button so you don't miss future cozy videos. And please let me know what you've been doing lately to help your mind unravel and what projects you've been working on. I can't wait to hear about it down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to do what helps you unravel. Bye guys.